Galnet News Digest, 14th of April 3306. We read the news so you don't have to. In this week's news, carrier seal appeal. Let's jump together. Hot mess success? More or less. Carrier seal appeal. Test flights have been continuing for the forthcoming Drake-class fleet carriers, despite almost universal dismay at the draft upkeep costs, and some confusion about what need fleet carriers will actually satisfy, and despite the lack of an option for a universal cartographics terminal, and despite the amount of time it takes to get a fleet carrier to actually jump to a new system, and despite difficulties transferring the tritium fuel from storage to the fuel tank remotely, and despite it taking nearly an hour and a half for a couple of competent miners to gather enough tritium for a maximum range jump, and despite the exclusivity of fleet carriers due to cost, and despite there being too many fleet carriers clogging up systems like DISO, which we learned this week is called DISO, not DISO or DISO after all, and despite not being able to stay on deck while the fleet carrier is jumping, which means you miss the sound and light show going on outside, it's generally agreed that fleet carriers may have a part to play in the galaxy, unless you command a Shan, in which case they are utterly pointless. Because the fleet carrier owner can set almost any buy or sell price for commodities, there is now at long last a means of transferring credits from one commander to another. Commander Burr has been flying around taking pictures of the different sorts of fleet carrier under construction, and is of the opinion that a number of exciting cosmetic variants of the fleet carriers will soon be on the way. A number of exploration-minded commanders have used the previously unattainable jump range afforded by fleet carriers to visit star systems far above and below the galactic plane, places where true explorers are unlikely to be troubled by the scurrying feet of day trippers hoping to do the galaxy in less than a week. And the Hull Seals have put out an appeal for help with buying 3 fleet carriers to form part of the Deep Space Support Array, which is Fleetcom's proposed network of repair and refuelling stations around the lesser trodden pathways of the galaxy. It's looking likely that they'll be able to buy 3 fleet carriers thanks to the generosity of their members and the rest of the galactic community. When fleet carriers finally become available to buy, you can be sure of an even swifter than normal response to your hull repair needs. Refuelling services not included because that's the fuel rat's job. Cracked canopy access, 100 credits. Let's jump together. The Perseus Reach and Orion Expeditions met up this week for a mass jump at the system known as EOLS Grai PG-E B15-4, or rather more conveniently, as Bendurian's Present. The 2 expeditions set off several months ago. The Perseus Reach expedition, a steely bunch of hardened explorers travelling all the way to Semitus Beacon in small ships that only have the most basic facilities. The Orion Expedition, a slightly less eager collection of amateur frameshift drive astronomers looking for exciting things around the curve of the Orion Cygnus arm of the galaxy, and ending up at Explorer's Anchorage in time for tiffin. The 2 expeditions met up as arranged, larked about for a bit, said their farewells, and, as explorers do whenever they gather together, they arranged a mass jump. Having all jumped together to the next system, they found that they had all met up once again. The 2 expeditions now keep bumping into each other, like that distant acquaintance you bumped into in the fruit and veg aisle, said a few words to, and then proceed to meet again in the meat, dairy, dried and frozen food aisles, and who you're now actively trying to avoid by hiding out of sight around the corner. Hot mess success, more or less. Despite appearances to the contrary, a galactic pandemic of mods has been averted. According to Commander LCU No Fool Like One, who is not only a scientist, but also keeps a pretty close eye on politics, mugs have now been delivered to 11,230,734,000 citizens in 50-10-100 systems. 10 commanders delivered more than 1,000 mugs each, with the most prolific super spreader being Commander Doc Jack, who delivered 2,747 mugs. 11th place runner-up Commander Rincewind Cymru failed to deliver more than 1,000 mugs, but he did deliver 1,000. Close friend of Galnet Digest Commander Watcher played his part, coming in at 183rd, having delivered 38 mugs, behind Commander Shoespan, who delivered 38 mugs, and ahead of Commander Hobo Astronaut, who delivered 38 mugs. Some Hutton truckers believe that mods is a man-made disease deliberately released into the galaxy by the evil Don Antonacci. Some conspiracy theorists go even further, claiming that it's fake news created by Commander Vantean as part of the campaign to re-elect Alvin as leader of the Hutton truckers. These crackpots point to the recent rollout of 21G listening posts throughout the bubble as evidence that their minds are being controlled by manipulative truckers. In any case, the galaxy is now safe from further outbreak, at least until a novel form of mods escapes from the laboratory at Hutton Orbital. And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News, we read the news so you don't have to.